Chapter 17. Duryodhan. Since childhood, Duryodhan knew that he was going to succeed his father to the Kuru throne of Hastinapur. That was what all believed, given that he was the eldest in his generation. But then it was discovered that his uncle Pandu, who had gone to the forest, had 5 sons, and the eldest, being older than Duryodhan, would now claim the throne. Duryodhan was deprived from his birthright, just like his father once was. Dhritarashtra, through no fault of his, just because he was blind, was forbidden from ascending the throne. And when he finally got it from his younger brother, it was like having scraps off someone else's table. This turn of fate would have been acceptable had those sons of Pandu not rubbed the face of Duryodhan in it, at every chance they got. In childhood, Bhim, a glutton and a bully no different from now, would beat up his brothers badly, just for fun. And Duryodhan, weaker compared to him, could do nothing to protect his younger brothers or himself. Their preceptor, Drin, was so partial towards Arjun that he would not let anyone else learn archery better than the 3rd Pandav. And that preacher Yudhishthir, his calmness and wisdom, people would not stop talking about, as if Duryodhan was the wrong choice all along. It was like the whole universe was conspiring to put Duryodhan down and raise the Pandavs above him in every aspect. That was when Duryodhan realized that if Yudhishthir sits on the throne, then the Pandavs would humiliate the Kauravas further and treat them like slaves. So, with his close friends and brothers, Duryodhan planned to kill the Pandavs several times in hope of relieving themselves of the atrocities. But each time they failed and the Pandavs came back to bite them, even giving them a separate portion of the kingdom did not put an end to this. The Pandavs had to build an empire and a grand city, to which they invited the Kauravas, again to rub it in their face and humiliate him. Duryodhan knew that as long as the Pandavs had even a pinhead size of land, they would make it into an empire, with Duryodhan and his family compelled to bow before them. So he decided to take everything away from the Pandavs and took his uncle's help for that. What could not be achieved by power had to be achieved by strategy, the game of dice. Karna and Dushasan were more interested in Draupadi, but Duryodhan wanted humiliation of his enemies and a world without them on a throne. This desire of his has brought the entire Bharat to this field of death, and every wise man had advised him against it. But all that wisdom and words of righteousness meant nothing to him, as they all demanded him to bow to the Pandavs like a slave and seek mercy. And even if he did that, would that make his enemies give up their bitterness and revenge? Never. He had to fight. It was easy for the Pandavs to be righteous, because to be so, they did not have to sit bow-headed before their archenemies, like they had to do in that game of dice, the only moment that gave Duryodhan the best feeling of his life. He would die but yield to the 5 who took away his right, and whose father had taken away the right of his father. But now all his hope seemed to be lost. Duryodhan snapped out of his chain of thoughts as he heard chariot wheels roaring outside the woods and then come to a halt. The hunters who delivered meat and food for the Pandav camp had come before to the woods by the lake to gather food and had seen Duryodhan with the other 3. For sake of rewards, they went to the Pandavs and told where the eldest Kaurav was hiding and hunting their archenemy. The Pandavs, accompanied by Krishna, had come to the woods to end him. Now Duryodhan was alone by the lake and the 6 were coming for him. As the Pandavs and Krishna crossed the forest and walked to the lake, they found the place empty. Walking around it and scanning through the encircling woods as much as they could, they found no one. "Bad tip," Bhim asked his brothers, at which Yudhishthir looked around and said loudly, "We know you are here, Duryodhan. Come out, we await you." Getting no reply, Yudhishthir spoke again. "Don't be a coward. People have died for you and you hide to save yourself. Where is the warrior inside you?" No reply again, and Yudhishthir resumed, "All right, let me make this simple for you. With a weapon of your choice, if you defeat any one of us in a one-on-one battle, you get to keep your throne and I walk away. Otherwise, you either die or yield up what we owe you." The water of the lake rippled and splashed as a small bamboo shoot rose out of it and then followed the bare, muscular upper body of Duryodhan. He had been hiding underwater, using the bamboo shoot like a straw to breathe air. With wet dhoti and having shed his armor, Duryodhan waded through the water while carrying his heavy mace over his shoulder. He spoke, with a renewed shine in his eyes. I accept your condition and I choose my mace as the weapon. Are you out of your mind? Krishna blurted angrily at Yudhishthira. Do you have any idea what you have just done? You have once more gambled, this time with the fate of Bharat, the kingdom for which we have all fought for so long and sacrificed so many lives. You will decide who gets it based on one battle, that too a mace combat with Duryodhan. Don't worry, Bhim now said confidently. I will be his opponent and will defeat him. Can you? Krishna turned at him. For years, Duryodhan had practiced with mace to defeat you. How much practice have you gone through? That can only be found out when they are pitted against each other, spoke a deep voice from behind them, and a tall stout figure in dusty blue robes, with a blue Yadav turban, appeared there from the woods. It was Balram, elder half-brother of Krishna and a once inseparable companion to him. The strong-armed Yadav chief, Balram had been the mace combat instructor to both Duryodhan and Bhim at a later stage in their lives. Balram had a soft spot for Duryodhan, since the eldest Kaurav was his best student and had been deprived by fate, as Balram believed. When the Yadavs divided on the two sides in this battle, Balram, unable to choose between Krishna and Duryodhan, decided to stay neutral and go on a pilgrimage. Now, delighted greatly at his sudden advent, Duryodhan joined his palms at his mace instructor, perhaps one of the few who actually understood him. Bhim followed suit. When did you return from pilgrimage? Krishna asked, himself joining his palms at his elder brother, who replied, Just now. I thought I would end with the 5 holy lakes here and got the chance to witness the conclusion of the greatest battle in history. He then looked from Duryodhan to Bhim and added, It's perhaps fate that the result of this war has boiled down to a mace duel between 2 of my students, and I have come across it. Let there be a fair fight that decides who gets to keep the Kuru throne and who gets martyrdom. Go. As Duryodhan climbed out of water onto the mud and sand, he looked threateningly at Bhim, and he shot an equally demonic stare back. Come, you evil monster, Bhim said, as the 2 combatants circled each other while the others backed up to a safe distance. I had waited for this moment all my life, when I can use the full strength of my arms against you. Mace fight isn't just about strength, Duryodhan said tauntingly, swinging his weapon. It is about skills which you hardly possess, as pointed out time and again by our preceptor. Then they both lunged at each other, and their heavy metal maces collided like thunder. Duryodhan had always lost to Bhim when it came to display of strength, and that is why Bhim had bullied him throughout his life. But there was one aspect in which he was better than Bhim, and that was handling a mace. And now, by a stroke of luck and stupidity on Yudhishthira's part, his fate will be decided by his stronghold. He would win today, and keeping their words, the Pandav would walk away and he would be the emperor of Bharat, what's left of it, at least. His deepest desire would come true and he can finally rest. After all, Duryodhan meant difficult to fight with. Bhim used all his strength against Duryodhan, and the eldest Kaurav used his antagonist's strength against him. Duryodhan's motions were like fluid, and it was clear right from the beginning that he was confident and Bhim desperate. Bhim missed and was blocked by Duryodhan at each step, while Duryodhan's strikes time and again found its mark, sending Bhim to the ground or sideways, bruised and soaring. Bhim started to tire out and threw everything he had learnt from Balram at Duryodhan. But his supremely able antagonist had answers to all. Swiping Bhim's mace head to the side, Duryodhan struck at his chest and with a dented armor, sent Bhim to the ground. He went to land a final smashing blow, but Bhim rolled sideways, saving himself. Before he could rise and strike back, Duryodhan sprang to a safe distance. Bhim lunged for Duryodhan's head, and Duryodhan blocked it, holding his mace horizontally upwards. Then he pushed Bhim back and landed another blow to his arms, sending him back to the ground. Balram looked delighted at this, and Krishna checked his elder brother, glancing sideways. Brother Bhim is getting hammered. Arjun softly spoke to Krishna, who replied, Duryodhan cannot be defeated in a fair fight with maces. Look how he is protecting his upper body without giving Bhim any gap to strike. Duryodhan's lower body is exposed, Arjun said with realization. He is fighting according to rules which allows only strikes above the navel. But if Bhim were too? Your mace claimed so many of my brothers. Duryodhan taunted Bhim again. Why does it falter now? Yelling, Bhim jumped at Duryodhan, who smoothly sidestepped and hit with his mace on the back of Bhim, dropping him face first to the ground. Bhim was almost rendered unconscious, and Duryodhan could very well land the killing strike, but he stepped away, being extra careful. With half his face bloodied and bruised, Bhim glanced up at his foe and then noticed past him, at Arjun, who seemed to be doing something odd, standing far behind Duryodhan. Arjun was patting his own left thigh again and again, and his eyes were pleading Bhim to understand. Bhim gave a curt nod and rose. He took a few steps back and then ran for Duryodhan, raising his mace high. In answer, Duryodhan planted his own feet and held his weapon equally high in a blocking posture. At the last moment, Bhim dropped to the ground, sliding on his knees, and struck low at Duryodhan with all the force that he had left. The heavy mace head made thundering contact with Duryodhan's thigh, and Bhim felt his foe's femur dislocate from pelvic girdle and crack under his force. With his mace dropped and himself growling in pain, Duryodhan was thrown sideways to the mud, and Bhim jumped up holding his mace triumphantly and gave out a war cry. With his thigh at an odd angle and the fractured bone jutting out from the side, Duryodhan lay coughing and writhing in pain, unable to get up. Krishna sighed a relief, and the Pandavs rejoiced triumphantly and blew their conchs. "This is cheating," Balram growled, silencing everyone. Bhim landed an illegal strike below the navel. Bhim, without a care to any of this, stood over the fallen Duryodhan and kicked him on his head. Further enraged at this, Balram walked menacingly at Bhim, clearly with the intention to hit him down. Krishna stepped between them and said, "Control your wrath, brother. Don't forget our relations with the Pandavs and also the atrocities done towards them by this very Duryodhan. This duel was never about a fair fight. It was about the fate of the world and establishment of righteousness." "What happened here was not right," Balram said, turning around angrily, unwilling to have to fight his brother. "No matter what you say, Krishna, laws are broken every minute, by you and by the Pandavs to get what they want." "Yes, I have heard everything, brother. Know this, that after today, the world will remember Bhim as a cheater and Duryodhan as the great warrior who did his duty till the last breath." Saying this, Balram exited the woods without further conversation, and Krishna sighed, saying softly to himself, bringing him around would be a pain now. Bhim continued kicking the writhing Duryodhan, saying, "You demon have been the root of all our miseries. You usurped our throne and laughed at our disrobed wife. Die here, you wretch, die." "Stop," Krishna said to Bhim, and seeing no effect, looked at Yudhishthira, adding, "Stop your brother, please. We have already violated enough morality. Hitting the fallen enemy again and again like this is a sin." Yudhishthira said, "I know, Madhav, but I had been indifferent that day at the game of dice when we and our wife were being wronged. Today too I will be indifferent. Let Bhim have his heart's desire." Hearing this, Bhim stopped, and then giving a last reproachful glance at the broken Duryodhan, turned around and joined his brothers. "The whole Kuru kingdom is yours now, brother," Bhim said, joining his palms at Yudhishthira. "All the thorns in your path have been removed. Everyone who did you wrong have been killed now." "Congratulations, King Yudhishthira," Krishna said to the eldest Pandav. "The war is over and victory is yours." At this, Duryodhan sniggered from the ground in between coughs and said through his pain, "Victory would have been yours had you fought fairly, but each one of the warriors you slayed in battle had been through treachery." Krishna responded, "And haven't you resorted to treachery when you plotted to kill your cousins behind their backs, or tried to take their kingdom through a game?" "I do not regret any of that," Duryodhan said, trying to sit up and failing, "but I have followed the law throughout my life, led the life of a benevolent king and a true warrior, and today the highest honor of a warrior I have received when my archenemies failed to defeat me in fair fight. I will go to the warrior's heaven, and you will rule in this cheerless world of dead bodies." At these words, the Pandavs' triumphant smiles disappeared, and they all silently left that place, leaving Duryodhan to die by the lake. As the news of their victory spread, The Pandav troops, headed by Drishtadyumna and the Panchals, blew conchs and partied for hours before heading for the Kaurav camp with the Pandavs, to do what victors do: loot the enemy. Then the troops went back to their own camp to continue their celebrations, while the Pandavs, accompanied by Krishna and Satyaki, went out for Upaplavya to inform about the long-awaited victory to their women and bring them to the Kuru Field. "This is not a bed for a king," Ashwatthama said, weeping as he sat beside Duryodhan on the ground, covered in blood. "You should be with your friends and family on the throne." The sun had set, and Ashwatthama, accompanied by Kritavarma and Kripa, had returned to the lake to check on their king. And there they realized what had happened while they were away. Attracted by the scent of blood, vultures and crows were now flying overhead, and glowing eyes of dogs lurked within the shadows of the woods around, all waiting for Duryodhan to die. As Kripa and Kritavarma stood with head hung in grief, Duryodhan, still alive, replied to Ashwatthama, "No one can escape death, my friend, and today it has come for me." "But look what they've done to you," Ashwatthama said as his eyes flared up. "They killed my father unfairly, and now they killed you the same way. I swear I will exact vengeance. Give me permission." "Bring me some water," Duryodhan said, and Kripa brought him a pot of water from the lake, which he took, and then awkwardly poured on Ashwatthama's head. Duryodhan said at his wet-haired friend, "I install you as the generalissimo of the Kauravs, or what's left of it. My duty is over, but you may continue yours."
To be continued. Stay tuned for the next chapter,